All right, everybody. Hey, franchise family, welcome to Fit for Growth. My name is Bob McQuillan. I'm the Chief Development Officer at Sequel Brands, and I'm really excited today because I've got the founder and CEO of Sequel Brands with me, Anthony Geisler, who is going to be our first guest on the show. Anthony, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Bob. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for taking time out. So today we're going to go through Anthony's story. We're going to talk about these four exciting brands that basically you've just launched, why they're growing quickly, and why they're unique franchise investments for prospective buyers, and why they should be or are interesting to the existing consultant base that's out there in the United States today. So let's jump right in. Anthony, you exhibited a passion for people to become more active, right? And you've got this target market throughout the country. Take us to the place from which your passion was born and tell our audience what motivates you to continue this movement that you've helped create.
Well, look, I've been in and around, working out in the fitness space for 20 plus years. I started with LA Boxing, UFC Gym, and, moved on to Club Pilates and Exponential and now Sequel. So I've been around it for 20 plus years. My personal life for about the last 8 years, I've been kind of a nutrition, whole food diet, sleep, weight training kind of fanatic. And so, this biohacking space, longevity space, that everybody's kind of seeing take off today. I've been eating like a weird person, for, close to a decade now. So my personal life, I love it. And it really came from a spot where they took a photo of me when I was developing the last business. And it said, I think something like I had 1,200 locations and something else and something else. And I was in the picture and I had a little gut around hanging over my polo. And it just didn't look right that the fitness guy, was in front of a sign that said, I'm cool because I own all these gyms. And then here I am, not in ideal shape. And so, I was a new dad and I saw that photo and I twofold wanted to be around much longer than my current pace was where I was eating Lucky Charms and Frosted Flakes for breakfast and drinking big gulps of Coca-Cola all day long. I thought that was probably pretty much sudden death. And so changed my ways, starting a whole food diet, sleeping well, training daily, running wind sprints, lifting heavy, all those kinds of things. So that still continues to a few hours ago this morning when I did exactly that.
When you look at these relationships, people that rub off on you, people that have mentored you, there had to be something, right? You've developed businesses, and I can draw like from a straight line to my wife and some of the people that's really I kind of lean on. Who was the person that you leaned on to maybe there was a time that you pivoted in your life? And can you draw a straight line to that person or people and give us kind of an idea of who you credit some of your success to and why?
Yeah, I didn't really have a straight line. My mom and dad were entrepreneurial. My mom had a house cleaning business. My dad had a business as a food salesman, that he did, selling candy of all things, confection to grocery stores, doing store reshelving and all sorts of stuff in the middle of the night. So the family worked, honest work, but definitely not super exciting work, kind of in that space, but still entrepreneurial. My mom did it, cleaned houses, 2 or 3 houses a day. She did it because she could drop us off at school, clean some houses, pick us up, take us home, go back and clean another house. And we do that on weekends and do it in summers. And so, I saw that entrepreneurial journey early on. And I knew that, my parents had spent a lot of time being with us and they were sacrificing to be with us. There wasn't any cash around, right? There was no ability to, kind of live in a nice house. The 4 of us shared a bathroom, like all those kinds of things. So, my sort of pivot, if there was the realization that I could be entrepreneurial and maybe there was a way to be a good parent, be a good son, be a good brother, be a good human, but not have to necessarily not make money, right? And so my payout was, hey, look, I'm going to go to school, I'll go to USC, I'll go to their entrepreneur program because it's the best in the country. I'll figure out how to be an entrepreneur at a higher level, how to make money at a higher level. how to provide more benefit, right, to people, but, still have that entrepreneurial mindset. So I've never had a real job, kind of post college.
And you chose franchising, right? Tough journey, a lot of moving parts. You summited the mountaintop already, and now you're in your sequel phase, right? Your next journey, so to speak. There's a number of chapters that you're still writing, and you chose to do this in a different way. I'm watching this, live in action on a day-to-day basis. So forgive the following metaphoric foray, but give us the whys and the hows from behind the Geisler curtain in that production room, and tell us why this is happening now, why this stage after you've achieved so many successes, why at this point, Anthony, have you developed your next sequel?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, I'm not dead, right? So I'm still in my 40s, and my 7-year-old and 10-year-old go to school all day, and they dance after school. So, I still the office is 3 exits from my house and 4 exits from my kids' school, so it's right in the middle. So I still get to take them to school every morning at 8 o'clock, and then come to the office. I still get to go home and get home in 5 or 6 minutes. Sometimes the drive home isn't long enough. I haven't fully come down yet. I wish my drive was a little bit longer on some days. So, it's that I love to build businesses. I love franchising and what we're doing. There's a lot of times that the franchising is difficult, right? It's like a marriage. So there's a lot of times that you need to work through the relationship stuff and get franchisees to do what they need to do, right, in order to be successful. And there's times that our teams here need to do what they need to do to be successful in helping the franchisees, right? And so really pushing on both, pushing on my team to be better, pushing on franchisees to be better. And we had great teams at the last business. And those people were looking for the next great adventure, and we'd all done it together. It's like a SEAL Team 6, and we'd been on thousands and thousands and thousands of missions together, and we know how each other operates, and we wanted to all go do it again. And so that was the genesis of Sequel.
I think you're the first human being that I've ever heard say, I wish the car ride was longer, that's from California.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think
Exactly.
I've ever heard that one before.
Yeah.
So in franchising, speaking of relationships, right? And you just mentioned the ones that are really, really important to you and how many journeys you've been on it. In our world here and developing a franchise, my end of the business, it happens to be in the sales end. And with us, we deal with consultant networks all over the country. If I'm a consultant, why am I going to feel warm and fuzzy and really confident when I'm speaking to my candidate about sequel brands? What's going to make me say, you know what, these are the brands that I want to latch on to?
Well, I would say there's several reasons, right? First and foremost, it's resonating with people. We couldn't say that when Sequels started because we didn't know, who would want to buy, if anyone would want to buy, and how much, right? That hadn't been proven out yet. We know now that our closing ratio is pretty dang close to 100%. I think there's only been one store that didn't actually end up closing through our discovery days. Our discovery days at Pilates Addiction have gone from 12 people once a month to 24 people a couple times a month. And so, we're getting a lot of lead flow. So we know that the brokers at this point, the consultants, we know they do trust us, and we know that we're closing deals, which means the candidates like what they're seeing. These are sophisticated people that come through from the candidates, right? These aren't people they picked up at the pump next to them at the gas station yesterday. These are people that have owned multiple franchise businesses or owned or operated multiple businesses. And so they know what they're looking for and what they're going to trust. So we're seeing that. But the real idea behind Sequel, prior to figuring that out over the last several months, is that you get really two choices in franchising, right? You get somebody who has owned 5, 6, 10 locations in their neighborhood, and now they want to start franchising, which is great, but all they really have is the experience of operating a dozen or half a dozen so locations in their backyard. They have no clue what it's like to be a franchisor, but it's good because they have open territory, right? They have available territory that you can buy. On the other side of the coin, you have franchisors that have really great teams and robust processes and a lot of experience and a lot of capital. But those people, by the time you get to those levels, they've already sold out their franchises. So you really can't buy any territories. So you're buying in the secondary market at high multiples to be able to become a franchisee. What we've done at Sequel is we were able to take a team that was used to operating thousands and thousands and thousands of locations in multiple countries, and we've brought them in to run 10 locations, 20 locations, 50 locations, right? 100 locations in different brands. And so you're getting the best of both worlds. That's never really happened before because nobody wants to bring on 70 plus people, some of which make a $500,000 a year or more. They don't want to bring that kind of team on. Our payroll is almost $1 million a month. And so, people don't want to necessarily take that leap and lose a bunch of money every month, month over month to have the best team and wait out for a year or two or three to where the franchisor becomes profitable from good candidates coming in and stores opening, right? And so what you have here is the best of both worlds. You have a phenomenal world-class team, and everybody says they have a great team, but good luck them saying they've opened thousands and thousands and thousands of locations. It's just not true because very, very few people on earth have done it. So you have that same exact team, but you have the available territory that you would get from a new startup team that's never been a franchisor, that's undercapitalized and underdeveloped.
It is unique to say the least. There's no question about that, and the company's going fast. And you've got this great portfolio of brands. You've got a couple of fitness brands. You've got Pilates Addiction. You've got Body 20, and then you've got some recovery brands too, right? You got Stretch and Beam Infrared Sauna, which all these great capabilities and modalities that are going to help people heal and do better in life. Um,
Yep.
Give us a look at the future. If there's a crystal ball out there, Anthony, what does the future look like? Because I know you have some plans. I have a little bit of inside baseball knowledge, but I know you have some plans. So give us a look at the future of what are the next couple of chapters of Sequel, and what does the portfolio look like? 3, 6, 9 months ahead.
Yeah, look, I think the longevity space, is where we're going to go. It really wraps everything up nicely in the space, whether it's a Pilates workout, an EMS workout at Body 20, or recovery type stuff with iFlex, like you mentioned, or Beam on the, in the red light or in the infrared sauna. There needs to be a fifth brand that wraps all that up into longevity, health and wellness type space. And so, I think that's where you'll see Sequel starting to look. Also on the weight training side of the space, it's something we're missing. We don't have yoga, we don't have bar. There's some other things in the space that are pretty good. And so, there's other places to go. So we'll see how that wraps up. But, we're committed to having great brands with great teams. And so we want to make sure that the leadership is second to none. And in one of our brands today at Body 20, the first, second, and third in command are all ex-presidents of other brands, right? So, we're not just stacking a president for a president role. We're stacking a president in the first, the second, and the third role, right? So, very deep benches that we have across the brands and people that know what they're doing. And so just like the last company, I'll continue to hire at kind of the third in place position, and we'll groom them to go from 3 to 2 to 1. So that as we bring in new brands, we're not bringing in new people from the outside. We're bringing in known commodities and leadership that are still already under the hood and already operating. And so, we'll continue to do that here too, is continue to deepen the bench with great people.
Anthony, thanks so much for spending time. I know you're busy. I know you gave me as much time as you could today, so really appreciate that. I want to thank the viewers for tuning in. We're gonna have a link on the screen that they can go to. We'd love to talk to any of the consultants and the viewers that have interest in Sequel Brands. It's an exciting time for us. It's an exciting time to look ahead in the future into that crystal ball and see that we do have new brands coming. But as you mentioned, we're at about a 98, 99% close rate on
Yep.
the candidates that we get into Discovery Day. So this is a great time for Sequel Brands. Anthony, anything else to close with? Any parting words?
Nope. Just appreciate all the consultants out there, and keep sending us your leads and we'll keep closing them.
That's a wrap, everybody. Talk to you
Thanks,
soon.
Bob.
Take care.
All right, bye-bye.
Yep. Thank you. All right.